Hello children. In the previous topic, we have learnt about transportation in animals including blood composition, structure and function of blood vessels and the human heart. Here in this topic, you will know about the types and evolution of transportation systems in animals from the lesson Life Processes of Class 10 Biology. Learning Outcomes. After studying this chapter, you will be knowing about types of blood circulation, the events of cardiac cycle, heartbeat and blood pressure, the lymphatic system, blood coagulation, evolution of transport systems in animals. Keywords: systemic circulation, pulmonary circulation, heartbeat, pulse, systolic pressure, diastolic pressure, hypertension, sphygmomanometer, and lymph. Let us see the circulatory system in this concept map. Types of blood circulation. The blood circulates in our body as oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Systemic circulation. The oxygenated blood from the left ventricle of the heart is circulated to various organs of the body and returns the deoxygenated blood to the right atrium. Aorta carries oxygenated blood to all organs of the body. Pulmonary circulation. The pulmonary circulation starts in the right ventricle. The pulmonary artery carry deoxygenated blood to the lungs. The pulmonary veins collect the oxygenated blood from the lungs and transport it to the left atrium. Coronary circulation. The supply of blood to the cardiac muscle is called coronary circulation. Cardiac muscles receive oxygenated blood from coronary arteries. Deoxygenated blood from the cardiac muscle drains into the right atrium by the coronary sinuses. In double circulation, the blood circulates twice through the heart in one complete cycle, and the oxygenated blood does not mix with the deoxygenated blood. However, in some animals, the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood is mixed and passes through the heart only once. This type of circulation is called single circulation. For example, fishes, amphibians, and certain reptiles. Heartbeat. Blood circulation is continued by alternate contraction and relaxation of the heart. Consecutive single contraction and relaxation of the heart constitute a single heartbeat. In the case of a healthy person, there are 72 heartbeats per minute. Two types of sounds heard during heartbeat are the lub and dub. The heart pumps about 75 ml of blood during each beat. Pulse. When the heart beats, the blood is forced into the arteries. The arteries expand when the blood is forced into it every time, and it is called pulse. It can be felt by placing the fingertip on the artery near the wrist. Normal pulse rate ranges from 70 to 90 per minute. The cardiac cycle. The human heart starts beating around the 21st day of embryonic development. If it stops beating, it results in the death of a person. One contraction and one relaxation of atria and ventricles is called one cardiac cycle. Imagine that all four chambers of the heart are in a relaxed state. The blood from the vena cava and pulmonary veins enters the right and left atria respectively. Now the atria contracts, forcing the blood into the ventricles. When the ventricles are filled with blood, they contract and the atria are relaxed. On ventricular contraction, the blood moves into the aorta and pulmonary artery due to pressure. The aperture between the atria and ventricle is closed by valves. When the valves are closed forcibly, the first sharp sound of the heart lub is heard. When the ventricles relax, the pressure in them is reduced. The blood from the arteries tries to flow back into the ventricles. The valves in the blood vessels are closed to prevent the backward flow of blood. Now, a dull sound of a heart is heard as dub, and again the cycle is repeated. The sequential events in the heart are cyclically repeated and called the cardiac cycle. The cardiac cycle includes an active phase, systole, and a resting phase, the diastole of atria and ventricles. The whole process is completed in approximately 0.8 seconds. The time needed for atrial contraction is 0.11 to 0.14 seconds. The time needed for ventricular contraction is 0.27 to 0.35 seconds. Blood pressure. Blood pressure is the force exerted during the flow of blood against the lateral walls of arteries. The blood pressure is high in the arteries, gradually drops in the arterioles and capillaries. And becomes low in the veins. Blood pressure is expressed in terms of systolic and diastolic pressure. Systolic pressure. During ventricular systole, the left ventricle contracts and forces blood into the aorta. The pressure that arises to the maximum is called systolic pressure. Diastolic pressure. During diastole, the ventricular relax and the pressure falls to the lowest value is the diastolic pressure. Normal blood pressure is about 120 by 80 mm to 139 by 89 mm of mercury or Hg. It is measured with the help of a sphygmomanometer. A constant increase in blood pressure is called hypertension or high blood pressure. It can increase the risk of heart attack and stroke. Decrease in blood pressure is called hypotension or low blood pressure. Lymphatic system. The lymphatic system includes lymphatic capillaries, lymphatic vessels, lymph nodes, and lymphatic ducts. Lymph is the fluid flowing through the lymphatic system. The lymphatic capillaries join to form large lymphatic vessels. The lymph nodes are small oval structures located along the length of lymphatic vessels. Lymph. The lymph drains from the intercellular space into lymphatic capillaries. It is a colorless fluid formed when the plasma, proteins, and blood cells escaped into intercellular spaces in the tissues through the pores of the capillary walls. It is similar to blood plasma and contains less protein. small amount of nutrients. Oxygen, CO2, water, and WBC. Functions of lymph. It supplies nutrients and oxygen to those parts where blood cannot reach. It drains away excess tissue fluid and metabolites and returns proteins to the blood from tissue spaces. The lymphatic capillaries of intestinal villi or lacteal absorb digested fats and carry them to the blood. The lymphocytes in the lymph defend the body from infections. Coagulation of blood. The important property of the blood is coagulation. The animals survive severe injuries due to blood coagulation. When there is an injury, blood clots in 3 to 6 minutes. The blood flows out of the wound for only a short time and then it is filled with a reddish solid material called the blood clot. When the blood flows out, the platelets release an enzyme called thrombokinase. The thrombokinase acts on another substance called prothrombin, converting into thrombin. The thrombin acts on a soluble substance fibrinogen, converting it into insoluble fibrin. The blood cells are coiled with the fibrin fibers forming the clot. The fibrin fibers attached to the wound edges are pulled together. The straw or yellow colored fluid called serum appears after the clot formation. Normally, the blood that oozes from a wound clots in 3 to 6 minutes. But in some people, it takes more time due to vitamin K deficiency. The blood may not coagulate because of a genetic disorder. Hemophilia is a genetic disorder inherited in children born from marriages between very close relatives. Thalassemia is also an inherited disorder related to blood. Evolution of the transport system. In unicellular organisms like amoeba, the protoplasm shows natural movements. These are called Brownian movements, allowing transport of nutrients and oxygen throughout the protoplasm. The simplest intercellular transportation system is also found in multicellular animals by the movement of protoplasm in cells. The multicellular animals develop more complicated systems for transportation. The parazoans are like sponges, use seawater for transportation and create their own currents by beating flagella. The cnidarians like hydra and jellyfish have a blind sac or gastrovascular cavity, performing the functions of digestion and transportation. In platyhelminthes, example Fasciola hepatica, the digestive system is highly branched and supplies food directly to the cells, and the excretory system collects the waste. In nemathelminthes, the pseudocoelom performs the collection and distribution of materials. The annelids are the first eucoelomate animals that developed a pulsatile vessel to move the fluid and blood in the transporting medium. The arthropods have developed the pulsatile organ or heart to pump the blood. The blood vessels are absent, but the blood floods the tissues, directly supplying the nutrients. Oxygen is directly supplied to the tissue by respiratory system. This type of transportation system is called the open type of circulatory system. Example, arthropods, many mollusks and lower chordates. Another type of system involves the blood delivering the materials to the blood vessels and is called the closed type of circulatory system. It is present in annelids, echinoderms, cephalopod mollusks like octopus and all the higher animals. Points to remember: two types of sounds that are heard during heartbeat are lub and dub. One contraction and relaxation of the heart is called the cardiac cycle. If the blood goes to the heart only once, it is called single circulation. The blood that goes to the heart twice is called double circulation. The blood delivers the materials to the blood vessel is called the closed type of circulatory system. In an open circulatory system, the blood directly floods the tissues, supplying nutrients to the tissues. Thank you.